Good afternoon, everybody. I spent my first morning in office in a 2.5-hour meeting with department heads of Jackson County. And to say I'm impressed is an understatement of the experience and the professionalism we have that run this county. And I was just amazed. I'm so proud to be in this role with these people that are working for the county government. So that was a long day. And then I went from there, I went to our new Justice Center. I think we call it the Justice Campus. I don't know the exact specific word. I don't know who's been out there yet at our new $320 million facility that is the state-of-the-art detention center. We're gonna have 2 courtrooms out there, Criminal A and Criminal B in Jackson County will be there, some new courtrooms. It's an amazing facility that will be opening up this spring under budget and on time. So I'm the county executive, so I'm taking credit for that. So that first day on the job, I here to report to you that we're under budget and on time at a $320 million project. I've talked about this administration. One of my first priorities and most important priorities is, well, I actually have 2, tax assessment and collaboration with the legislature. So I'm here today to tell you that this is what we're working on immediately. So as of today, under the authority granted to me by the Jackson County Charter, I'm taking direct action to provide tax relief. This won't be the first time we will act, we will keep acting, but I've identified commercial property where the assessments are not appropriate. The Charter gives me authority to correct errors, and I'm working on looking at properties that have been increased around 15%. That target. I'm trying to be specific without being real specific, but my goal is to cap commercial properties at 15%. That's my target. You know, you talk generalities about this and they say, well, what about this property? We're going to review everything, but my goal is to target anything that's been increased, commercial property, and cap that at 15%. This cap will provide meaningful relief to commercial property for those people who are affected with those incorrect assessments. Now, the good news is the legislature is simultaneously acting with me, and if they give a resolution or an ordinance, whatever that looks like coming out of that body, I'm going to let the members of the legislature talk to you about that. That's their side of the hall. But if you remember back in September, and not to get too much in the weeds, back in September, this legislature passed an ordinance to that effect that sat and got unsigned. Did not have the buy-in and the cooperation of the county executive. So whether the legislature decides to do that again or come up with a new ordinance resolution, they have my full support on I will sign and agree to whatever they do. So as of today, that's what we're gonna do on today as a commercial property that meets that criteria, and we'll have immediate tax relief for those people. We have some commercial property owners here today that I want you to hear from, and I'm going to allow the chairman and the other members of the legislature to introduce them, and then I'll take any questions for you. And I also want to talk about one more thing about our senior, what's the actual name of it? The senior property tax credit. I'm going to talk about that when I get into it. So I will ask Chairman McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Today marks an important first step for the tax fairness in Jackson County. Over the past few years, too many commercial property owners, especially small and local businesses, have been blindsided by massive tax spikes in their property assessments. One of those folks that is here with us today that I've invited, my good friend Andy Rieger, and many of you have been to his brewery down in the Bottoms. Distillery, I'm sorry, distillery, down in the Bottoms. Not because they built these businesses have suffered for many years in Jackson County, not because they built a new wing or made major upgrades to their facilities, but because the system has been broken. That's why we're announcing this cap as a safeguard that puts reasonable limits on how much property assessed can increase over a year. It creates predictability, it encourages long-term investment here in Jackson County. It gives people a fighting chance to plan for the future. This is not just about taxes, it's about trust. It's about making sure business owners, and many of whom have invested in our communities for decades, aren't being punished for staying here and operating their businesses and growing their businesses here in Jackson County. This simply brings consistency to the process. We can protect critical public investments and ensure that assessments are fair, transparent, and professionally handled. This is how we are going to rebuild public confidence. We're going to introduce, my colleagues and I are going to introduce a resolution on Monday to codify this and working with the executive to get this done. This has been long overdue. And this is how we send a clear message to that Jackson County is now open for business and accountable to the people who live and work here. Thank you.
Ms. Legislator Smith, you want to?
Yeah, so there's significant information that shows that there was just so many defects in commercial assessments this year that when we looked at the data, we saw huge numbers of values that were overridden by the assessment department without the appropriate backup to demonstrate how they valued them. We saw numerous instances of increases, in some cases over 1,000%. So imagine a small business owner or commercial property owner had a property that was $100,000 according to the assessor in 2023 and 2024, and now she says it's worth 1.1 million. That kind of appreciation did not happen. It was a fiction, and it's appropriate that we look at the actions that were taken and what went wrong before we disperse tax bills to those business owners, which would no doubt put them in financial hardship and in many cases potentially cause them to close their businesses. This would further erode the tax base of Jackson County. That would further decrease the total revenue available to the cities and school districts that we serve through the assessment and collections process. So it is vitally important that we introduce this now as a safety measure to make sure that we protect the businesses that are here from those kinds of harmful increases that would cause them to make decisions that we may never be able to reverse in this county if we didn't take action immediately. I've worked collaboratively with the State Tax Commission in making sure that there is a path for this to be lawful, and we're confident that even though it's coming later than we would have liked, that doing this now is the best possible outcome for both our business owners and our taxing jurisdictions who rely on us to provide accurate and predictable assessments. With that, if it's okay, can I hand it over to Andy and Ian for a minute? Let them talk about the impact.
Well, I wasn't expecting to say anything, but I'm Andy Rieger. I run J. Rieger & Co. We're in the Electric Park District of the East Bottoms. And for those of you that have been there, you know the neighborhood is a neighborhood that's going to take a lot of time. And it's going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to take a lot of really good property owners that are willing to invest in things that aren't typical 3 to 5 year returns, but things that are going to take 20 to 30 years. And so being able to finally get what I would say the best thing of all of this is bipartisanship on both sides of the aisle, coming together, electing a county executive that's going to take us to a better place here in Jackson County and do things that are rational, things that are logical, and allow businesses that want to invest, that want to make the county and the city a better place, get the opportunity to do so, and not actually try to cut us down while we're in the middle of that process. So I do want to say thank you first and foremost to the legislators, especially the ones that voted for the county executive. And this is an era that we're really looking forward to as business owners and residents of the county. Thank you guys very much.
I just want to start by saying I'm really encouraged by everything I'm hearing. I appreciate you. By everything that I'm hearing from everyone today. But since I prepared something, we're going for it. Good afternoon, you guys. My name is Ian Davis, and I own Blip Coffee Roasters in Kansas City. 626% property tax increase is not a bill. It's a death sentence for small businesses. That's what I said a few weeks ago before the Missouri Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform. And that message resonated because thousands across Jackson County are living in that same reality. We're here today because people spoke up. From neighborhood business owners to longtime property holders, thousands demanded fairness and transparency. And County Executive Phil LeVota heard the people. I appreciate that he's already pledged to roll back the 2023 assessments and comply with the State Tax Commission's order and to introduce a 15% cap on commercial properties valued under $5 million. That responsiveness matters. But Executive LeVota has also been honest that this is just the start, that we still need to rebuild public trust in a system that has lost it. He's acknowledged the challenge. Local budgets for schools, libraries, and fire departments are already set on last year's assessments, and refunds aren't simple. That's exactly why real structural reform must follow. Tax relief through credits or caps may ease the pain for now, but they don't fix the root problem, the lack of predictability, accountability, and clarity in how these assessments happened in the first place. This cap might stop the bleeding for now, but the wound is still open. We need property tax reform written into law with transparent assessments, clear communication, and long-term limits that protect both taxpayers and essential public services. Because sustainable revenue for schools, libraries, fire departments, and other essential county services depends on a healthy local economy, and that means protecting small businesses and property owners who make that economy possible. So today, I'm grateful to County Executive LeVota for listening and acting quickly, but I'm also not satisfied. Gratitude doesn't mean complacency. We'll celebrate this progress, and then we'll keep working with every level of government until Jackson County builds a property tax system that is fair, transparent, and sustainable for everyone. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, you want to add anything? Legislator Abarca, you've got
Sure.
something to say, my friend.
Ian, you took all the words. Like, that was great. What I will say is that when I ran for office, the thing that we heard most, and I think all of us really, was property tax assessments. We need to address the challenges that the last administration had laid upon all of us. We were so focused on residential, we did not have time to go and think about what could happen to commercial. When we saw immediate relief that was suggested by the last county executive on residential, they immediately and over-dramatically impacted commercial. That's, I think, when we read about Ian's story, Andy and I had already been talking about what's to come, and solutions needed to be addressed immediately. And I think voters spoke. They recalled the county executive. We, the legislature, put in place Executive LeVota, and immediately challenges were addressed. Problems are being solved. I think this is more of the opportunity you will see coming over the next 14 months. I'm excited to work with Executive LeVota, with our business owners, and with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to continue this level of progress.
Thank you very much. There's my notes about, while anyone's listening, today, seniors, there's been over 43,000 seniors have already signed up for the senior property tax credit for residents age 62 and older. So if you're hearing about that, sign up for that. More tax relief, more tax relief, more tax relief. We're here today standing as a unified body of Jackson County government. And in my day after being sworn in my office, I've got people that just walk in my office. I'm not sure I love it, but I do it. The chairman shook his head, Legislator Abarca said, and I do. I love it. It's like, hey, I got an issue. What about this? And I don't think that's happened before. I know it hasn't happened recently, and I'm really excited about that. So I wanted you all to be here today, number one, to tell you what we are doing for tax assessment relief. Number two, we are not done. And number three, we are working together. So if you have any questions, I'll take some, and I know my friends here will also.
Can you elaborate on Missouri State Tax Commission's involvement in this initiative?
Which one?
In terms of commercial property tax.
Yes.
They were involved in residential property.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's been ongoing discussions, including a review by their legal counsel of our charter and how it fits and matches with state statute. What you heard the prior county executive say over and over again was that authority to correct errors that was present in the charter was very restricted by the ordinances that defined examples, but those examples are not intended to be exhaustive. Those were just examples of specific things he could correct. But the fact is that the State Tax Commission said, your county executive has the authority to do this and do this now. And they say one of the things that was unique about our charter is that it granted that authority to the county executive, and he has a purview over both the assessor and the Board of Equalization. And the Board of Equalization is well within their rights to do this, and we plan to cooperate with them, with the State Tax Commission, with the authority of the county executive, and the authority of the legislature to make sure that this is absolutely airtight from a legal standpoint. And then, of course, we have to work with the school districts, because the fact is they got assessment notices, the aggregate value of properties, and we need to work with them and make sure that they understand what this adjustment will mean to them. We've done some preliminary analysis on that. It doesn't look like it's too terrible, and we have the opportunity to kind of tweak things as we go along, make sure we hit the mark for something that's fair for business owners and legally compliant and doesn't adversely impact the budgets of the jurisdictions who rely on us.
Anyone else?
Are you, so when do property tax bills get mailed out to residents in Jackson?
November 15th, mid-November-ish.
Are you guys concerned then that the SBC is going to fight against this measure that you guys?
Not in the least. They haven't had anybody cooperating with them, too, if I could speak to that. And you tell me if I'm not. I think they're excited now that they have a legislative body on one side and a county executive on both sides speaking to them, because they're the experts, and we've been trying to work with them forever. I don't say we. My colleagues have, and now they have a unified force. So I'm not concerned about that.
Is there anything that commercial property owners need to do now that you guys are announcing this?
There's just the internal review that we're doing, but there's nothing that a property owner has to do to apply for this relief or anything like that. It's up to us to do the numbers.
How soon will they actually see this relief? Will it be on these tax bills, or what exactly?
We hope, yes, we hope. I say we hope. We hope it will be on this tax bill. I don't know why it would not be.
I spoke to a property owner today who's also still dealing with a residential concern from 2023. Good to announce property relief for commercial properties, but is there any work on your radar for 2023 residential relief?
That is nonstop what we've been doing. So I'm just here today to tell you this is done, and you will be back here if you come in our invitation. We're not done. So residential is next.
So to follow on that, Phil.
Yes, sir.
Is the county going to drop a lawsuit against the SEC?
We don't need. There's no need for a lawsuit if we get this done. Yes, so we'll be talking to the county counselor's office, and I'm telling you, as I'm speaking from the hip, there's no reason for that lawsuit if we're following that. Does that make sense?
What about the Alabama baby?
What about her?
Are you going to keep her?
I had a 2.5-hour meeting with all of my department heads today. Fantastic meeting to see all the experts we have here. I continue to evaluate personnel that are going to be with my administration. I continue to add some fantastic people on board to help me with this, to complete the Jackson County Dream Team. Can you report that? Make sure I get quoted on that. LeVota, headline, LeVota selects the Jackson County Dream Team. I continue to evaluate the personnel in this administration.
This is about public funding, right? Schools, libraries. Is the county hurting for money? And if so, how will you fix that with this cap going forward?
Man, I heard across the street they're having some problems. And so I asked everybody around here, we're not. So I'm not concerned. You're getting ready to see a budget in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We'll have a balanced budget. We have money in the bank. Jackson County is not hurting for money. And if anyone else wants to speak to that.
And you talked about a unified government, right? But 4 of the other legislators voted for the other candidate. Are there situations moving forward where you're going to have to bring them on board to pass what you want to do, or you feel pretty comfortable with your the 5 that voted for you?
Both, but I'll let the chairman speak to that too. Unified because we have the majority. I mean, this is government. The majority of the legislature passes laws. Okay, you can have 5-4, 8-1, whatever. If you're working with the majority and working with the county executive, things get done. I, however, will not stop trying to reach out to anyone that was not comfortable with me as a candidate and get them on board for policy. I think it's only is helpful to them to follow their colleagues. They're doing the right thing. We're doing great things. So I'm hopeful that they're going to understand that we're done with any of the 5-4 things. The 5-4 we've talked about way too much, and they're going to come on board. And I will not stop reaching out to them. Yes, sir.
So you have to do a lot of math, make this right. But that means schools and others are going to do a lot of math as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to work. Yes, there's a lot of math, and yes, there's a lot of numbers, and yes, when we do something here, it affects them there, but we can only do what we can do. They're going to have to figure out mills and levies and all that on their own. The people need relief, and we're going to give them relief, and that's going to be an issue for them. I understand it.
Sure, like the ball's in the air right now. If you get a chance to reach out to any of these players and let them know this is coming and they're going to have to...
After we told you today, we're going to get contacts, and we're going to be reaching out to them.
Either one. So what I will say to some of those, because I think there's a lot of concerns about schools specifically, right? 3 of the 4 of us have been on school boards before and had to balance those budgets. I specifically was the treasurer of the largest taxing jurisdiction in Jackson County. What I will say is I think those budgets need to prepare themselves as well for the reality of the tax situation they knew was challenged. And so if they have made assumptions that need to be drawn back now, those are important things that need to be addressed. Additionally, for Kansas City Public Schools, they need the Hancock Amendment placed upon them so they're not receiving unnecessary windfalls either, right? Those are the state legislations that we've been talking about as well that we want to see in addition to these changes, because ultimately people are going to be negatively affected within certain boundaries differently than others no matter what. We are conscious of that. I know that I've had conversations with Missouri Coordinated Schools. We know that we've been talking to MCC and several other taxing jurisdictions to make sure they're prepared for these cuts. But I think it's something that is realistic. If you don't have taxpayers paying property tax at all because we've driven them out by such high increases, you're not going to have schools anyway. So at this point, we're trying to find a balance.
We were told that for BOE that they were going to, but they missed that August deadline and that they were going to start holding those appeals in October. Are those happening?
Some of the 2025 appeals are now being heard by the Board of Equalization, and this will actually reduce their workload significantly in terms of hearing individual appeals, which means that those parties who aren't subject to this, those who aren't commercial property owners, will have their hearings sooner than if they were stuck behind all these commercial property owners. I was anxious to step up, and Legislator Abarca kind of made this point at the end, but the fact that we mail a bill to a commercial property owner that's 10 times higher than it's ever been does not put funding in a school district's bank account. What puts funding in their bank account is when it gets paid. And if you get a tax bill that's 10 times higher than you expected and you're a small business owner, you are probably not going to be able to pay that. So the fact is that in determining whether this is fiscally responsible, one of the key factors there is how much uncollectible debt were we creating on these business owners. And it's clear that when we have 1,000% increase, a 500% increase, a 400% increase, business owners up and down the county, north to south and east to west, made it very clear they weren't going to pay those bills because they knew that they were ridiculous and they perceived they were unlawful. And at the end of the day, they simply don't have the cash. So they were going to liquidate their businesses and be done. So what we're doing here today is saving the cities and school districts from catastrophic losses from business closures.
Chairman, to wrap us up.
I just add a couple points to that. I was actually talking to the Mayor Pro Tem just yesterday. One of the main issues we've seen too, outside of just the high property taxes that Legislator Smith talks about, is the fact that we are sending bills to the wrong addresses. Like, that's a huge issue. I was in Nieces just the other day. Her commercial property not only increased, but she couldn't appeal in the right amount of time because she didn't get the bill to the right address. We mailed it to the wrong house that she hadn't lived in over 15 years. And so that's a big issue that we have to deal with, is that making sure that not only that we're billing the right amount, but where are we sending the bills? And so that's really a real thing that we've got to make sure we're looking at. But I want to go back to your other question. You talked about, our legislature working with this new executive in a 5-4 manner. I just would say this, is that I think this is really important for everybody to know that 90% of the things we pass are not 5-4 in this legislature. I have chaired this legislature for now 2 years. 90% of the things we pass are monotonous and it's just run-of-the-mill county business. It is not 5-4. There are a few things that are 5-4. I think that this executive will be given the benefit of the doubt to work with this legislature. We are going to run a transparent legislative process. We're going to be open. We're going to continue to pass information on to the public, to our colleagues. But we are not running this this legislative branch on a 5-4 manner. We're running this so everyone is involved and votes their conscience. Now, if it happens to be 5-4, fine. If it happens to be 9-0, great. But that is the way that I intend to run this legislature. So thank you all so much. Thank you.